Scylla and Charybdis. Halfway up the taller cliff, you'll see the entrance to a cave. Deep in its foul recesses lives the hideous sea hag, Scylla. Scylla has 12 legs and 6 monstrous heads. She sits in her own filth, whining and yelping like a little puppy, waiting for her prey. She will certainly seize a man with each of her gruesome heads as you pass by. Nevertheless, I urge you to go that way. Much better to lose 6 men than to risk losing your ship and all of your lives. Finally, remember what Tiresias told you, and avoid Thrinacia altogether. If you are forced to go ashore there, then whatever you do, be sure to leave Hyperion sheep and cattle alone. Otherwise, you will lose your ship, your men, and maybe even your life. Circe squeezed my hand for the last time. Tears glistened on her cheeks as she turned away from me. Without another word, she hurried off through the trees. The sky was already reddening in the east, and my men were stirring on the beach. We loaded the supplies that Circe had given us and set out to sea once more. As the goddess had foretold, there was a north wind to carry us along, and soon we had left the island of Aea far behind. Now I repeated Circe's somber warnings to my men, although I did not tell them about the Scylla. If there was nothing we could do to avoid her, then it would only have caused unnecessary alarm. We sailed on through the day, and toward evening, the island of the Sirens loomed over the horizon. I took the ball of soft wax that Circe had given me out of its leather pouch and began plugging my crew's ears. When I had finished, I shouted to test my work. Not one of them heard me. Then I got my men to lash me to the mast and waited nervously as we approached the island. We were still a long way off from when the first strains of the Sirens' heavenly song drifted enticingly across the water. Noble Odysseus, they sang, greatest of the Greeks, destroyer of Troy, come stay with us and listen to our song. No one who hears it can resist our music. The memory of it will stay with you until the end of your days. Come ashore, Odysseus, and we will sing as we have never sung before. I was instantly seduced by the sweet sound of their voices, drunk on the nectar of their song. If strong ropes had not held me, then Circe's warning words would have counted for nothing. I was desperate to go ashore, but my men were deaf to my frenzied screams. They gazed unmoved at the furious contortions of my face and rowed steadily on. By now, we had sailed close to the island, where the 3 sirens sat on a cliff top and watched as we approached. They were as beautiful as their voices, which when we drew closer became unbearably lovely. I struggled to escape until the ropes bit into my flesh, convinced now that Circe had tricked me. She had not been worried about my safety at all. It was jealousy that made her want to keep me from the sirens. But it was not long before I was brought to my senses with a jolt. The cliff on which the sirens sat formed part of a narrow headland that we now began to skirt. As soon as the sirens realized that we were not coming ashore, a hideous change came over them. The beautiful young women turned into terrifying hags, half woman and half vulture, and instead of their sweet song, a stream of ugly shrieks and curses filled the air. Once we had rounded the headland, the horrible sound faded away behind us, and my men untied me and unblocked their ears. They asked me to describe the music that had so bewitched me, but before I had time to reply, we were all silenced by the horrible sight that now met our eyes. We were sailing down the east side of the headland past a small sandy beach, backed by huge cliffs. A line of jagged rocks lurked menacingly right beneath the surface of the sea, and the beach was piled high with whitened bones. At the top of the pile lay the sirens' most recent victims, covered in dark stains. The thousands of skeletons beneath them had been bleached by the sun and salt water. We were sickened by the sight of what might have been our fate, and thankful to leave that gruesome place behind. Now we made good progress. The wind was still with us, the twilight sky was clear, and the sea was calm. We sailed on through the night, taking turns to keep watch and steer. Refreshed by sleep and encouraged by our swift progress, my crew were in a hopeful mood when morning came. It did not last long.